Okay, City Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Yes. I think Anderson's got it. Okay, we'll start the roll. Alderman Rainey,
Here.
Alderman Fleming,
Here.
Alderman Fisk,
Here.
Alderman Braithwaite, Alderman Braithwaite, Alderman Nguyen,
Here.
Alderman Wilson,
Here.
Alderman Ruth Simmons,
Here.
Alderman Suffredin,
Here.
Alderman Ravel.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Alderman Rainey, can you please move a motion?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move that we suspend the rules.
Is there a second?
Second.
And
Suspending the rules for the purpose
Yeah.
of the telephone conference.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
okay. All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, City Clerk, could you please take the roll? And this is to suspend the rules that require aldermen to be present at the dais, or a quorum be present at the dais. And this is allowed under the emergency proclamation as well that the governor issued just this week. So, City Clerk, could you take the roll?
Alderman Rainey,
Yes.
Alderman Fleming,
Here.
Alderman Fisk,
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite, Alderman Nguyen,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons,
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin,
Aye.
and Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
All right, thank you. On a 8-0 vote with Alderman Braithwaite absent right now, he may be joining, and when he does, I just would ask that he chime in or text the city manager so we know you're here. So on an 8-0 vote, the Evanston City Council suspends the rules, allowing for a meeting of the City Council electronically. We have with us in this room, so everybody at home knows, we have our city clerk, Devon Reed, who's 6 feet from me. We have our acting city manager, Erica Storley, who's also 6 feet from me, present. We have reporter Bob Seidenberg with the Evanston Roundtable, and Ray Friedman, one of our residents, is here in person, and Luke Stowe, our Chief Information Officer, who's helping us with this new format today, or this emergency format today. So I'd just like to make a statement before we get into the public comment section. So first is, I want to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day, and a shout out to all of our Irish friends out there that may have been forgotten by many people given everything that's going on right now in our community and across this country. I also want to thank everyone who has chosen to step up and run for office today to serve their city or their state or their federal government. We are seeing firsthand right now the importance of leadership in very uncertain times. Our country and our community have changed significantly since we last met on March 9th. I called this special meeting in part because of the rapid, uncertain, and eerie changes that we are all experiencing. I haven't felt this degree of unease since the fateful day of September 11th, 2001. 2 weeks after September 11th, I was in New York City serving as the federal government's liaison to the FDNY, the NYPD, the New York City Office of Emergency Management. I saw firsthand the empty streets, the shuttered businesses, and the expressionless looks and unease on people's faces. I saw entire industries like the theater district of New York, the restaurants, the bars, the airlines shuttered. I also saw a city pulled together. It wasn't easy, it wasn't fast, it wasn't pleasant, but it was gratifying to see. Months from now, I know we'll look back upon this dark period and feel a sense of pride that we set aside our differences, our bickering and mocking ways at times as a country and a community, and banded together to save the lives and care for others across this country. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. It won't be without a lot of pain and struggle. But like the terrible, tragic day of 9/11, we will come out of this a stronger community. For that, I am certain. Now on to the updates since our last City Council meeting related to COVID-19. There have now been 5 confirmed cases of COVID-19 among Evanston residents. That is one additional one than was widely known yesterday, which there were 4. So we had an additional confirmed Evanston resident today. Our Health and Human Services Department is monitoring those who were in direct contact with those cases. These individuals are to self-isolate and report to the city's Health and Human Services Department on a daily basis. We have additional residents self-isolating in our community who have come into contact with non-Evanston confirmed cases. I declared a state of emergency this past Sunday. This declaration will enhance our city's ability to respond to this pandemic. We opened our Emergency Coordination Center, which you'll also hear referred to as an Emergency Operations Center, or EOC, on Sunday, March 15th, the first accredited EOC in our region to do so. The activation of this center will allow for greater coordination and management of our COVID-19 response. On Sunday, Governor Pritzker announced the closure of all bars and restaurants statewide through March 30th. Though restaurants in the state and in Evanston are and can remain open for delivery, drive-through, and pickup orders. To respond to this virus and the rapid health and economic challenges ahead of us, I've established a mayor's COVID-19 task force. This task force will be chaired by me and is comprised of key members of the education, government, business, faith, nonprofit, health, and senior communities. To support this task force will be community working groups in the areas of senior living, nonprofits, the business community, and the faith community. This government-organized effort is a whole community response effort, which means we must all work in an organized fashion, along with our state and federal partners, who I can tell you are working very, very hard right now to support our community's response and recovery effort. I will do my best to try and help organize our community response. All I ask is that you have patience and trust the model of incident management and long-term recovery, which we are embarking on. Right now, priorities in responding to this virus are as follows. Number 1, slowing down the pace of the virus through preventative measures, such as social distancing and hand washing. This is a responsibility of all of us in this community. Number 2, ensuring that our hospitals and emergency responders are equipped with the necessary supplies. Number 3, protecting our homeless and low-income communities and making sure they're taking the steps necessary to stay healthy and prevent the spread of the disease. And we're taking steps so that we can self-isolate, help them self-isolate should that occur. Number 4, helping those most impacted by this major economic disruption. We know that this will take a toll on everyone, but not everyone equally. And last, increasing blood donations. I was on the phone today with the president of St. Francis Hospital. I've heard this from the president of other hospitals. There's a dire need for blood donation. So if you're eligible to give blood, please give blood. We're looking at trying to set up a blood drive, and there may be more information on that. We know that the number of cases in Evanston in Illinois is only a tiny fraction of our population, but we also know that if we don't all take immediate necessary steps to address this issue, that these numbers can quickly increase exponentially. It's occurring in other countries and will occur here unless we all take decisive action and strictly follow the guidelines of the Center for Disease Control and the Illinois Department of Public Health. That's why tonight I'm asking all residents to do their part to help, quote, flatten the curve, to reduce the strain on our healthcare system and to protect those most at risk, especially our senior population and those with underlying health conditions. I urge all residents to take the following actions. If you're going to be in the presence of other people, practice social distancing. This means 6 feet apart. If you're not sure what 6 feet is, we're modeling it here tonight at the Evanston City Council meeting. And we're modeling it because there's only 3 people up here at the dais, and we're all 6 feet apart. And all the aldermen made the very responsible decision that this was not an essential meeting they had to be present for, but that they could call in for. I ask you all to do the same. If you are sick, stay home. Wash your hands frequently, more than, at least for 20 seconds. I know there's lots of people singing songs while they're washing their hands around this community. Cover your coughs and your sneezes, and clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces. Again, I request that everybody familiarize yourself with the Center for Disease Control suggestions for everybody in this country. This is not, nor will it be, a pleasant experience for any of us. For some of us in this community who get COVID-19, it will be an awful experience should the disease cause severe complications. So for all you healthy young people out there who think, I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't need to worry, statistically that's true. But I want you all to think of your grandparents, parents, guardians, beloved aunt or uncle, neighbor, or anyone over the age of 60, those most at risk, along with others whose immune or respiratory system is compromised. I ask all of you, in the strongest terms possible, to please comply with the directives of the CDC and the Illinois Department of Public Health. Continue to organize, lend a hand, and help one another. And understand that our community leaders and organizations will be pressed to make difficult decisions. As Governor Pritzker said on a conference call today, our decisions lie between a bad decision and a less bad decision. I know we're all trying to make less bad decisions. The city will be keeping residents updated with frequent communications. I encourage everyone to visit cityofevanston.org/COVID-19 for the latest updates, resources, and frequently asked questions. We will update daily the number of confirmed cases in Evanston on this webpage. We will not be issuing a separate press release as these cases continue to rise in our community. This Thursday morning, March 19th at 11 a.m., the city will host a live question and answer session with myself and Ike Ogbo, our Health and Human Services Director. You can watch on Channel 16 or the City of Evanston's Facebook page. The video will also be made available on the city's COVID-19 page. Our response to this virus will test us in many ways. It will test our resolve. It will test our patience. It will test our resources. It will test our finances. It will test our entire community. I'm confident, though, that we'll get through this together and that we'll emerge as a stronger community on the other side. Please be safe, be smart, be prepared, and be well. Now I'd like to proceed with the city clerk announcements. I believe there was an election today, Mr. City Clerk.
There was not an election. There still is an election going on now, and the polls close in about 30 minutes. So we want to make sure that folks, the clerk's office sent out about 30,000 calls to registered voters, a little over 30,000 calls to registered voters today. To advise them that today is still election day. There's still an election going on, but we also want to make sure that folks were following the CDC guidelines. So we had a pre-recorded message that we sent out, and also we fielded hundreds of calls to the clerk's office today to help folks find their polling place and also give them guidance. We were in communication with the county clerk's office leading into this, as well. I know the mayor was as well separately. As well as Director Ogbo, and we were working to try to make sure that our polling places were as up and running and as sanitary as possible. We had a few hiccups today. Baker Fieldhouse was not, the polling place was not open in the morning. There were some issues at Fleetwood, but those polling places are open now, and so folks still have 30 minutes to get to the polls if you had any issues this morning. And I did speak to election judges at Fleetwood, and I was told at that time by the election judges at Fleetwood, I have not confirmed with this with the county separately, but that the polls there would remain open for a bit longer because of the issues this morning. So please get there before 7, but we can check back on that hopefully later. That ends my public announcements. We'll have a full report on the election and the outcome at the next meeting when that is scheduled.
Terrific. Thank you, City Clerk. We're now going to move to the public comment section. And so this evening, the way we're going to handle public comment is if anybody showed up in person, we're going to let them come up and they will have you'll have up to 3 minutes for public comment. And then we put out a request for anyone that wanted to make a statement at public comment to send those emails to the city. So we did receive a few of those emails, and I'm going to have the city clerk enter those into the record and read those. Do we have anyone here present, though, that would like to speak at public comment? Okay, seeing nobody, City Clerk, could you enter the comments that we did receive into the record?
Yes, with no objection from the Alderman, I will read the comments in full. We received one, I do not have a name for this one. I don't think names were coming through, Mr. Stowe. Okay, well, this one here is an A. Larrabee. I'm concerned that no state or local officials have called for salons, barbershops, and spas to close. As a salon owner, I can say no amount of vigilant sanitation can protect clients and salon staff. Also, no one has mentioned our business at all. What is the plan for us? So that is a question from A. Larrabee.
Thank you.
I separately received an email from I apologize, from Lori Keenan, and that email asked, do you know if there are any repercussions about the police chief having shared confidential information and photos online through a social media platform? Is he still acting as chief of police? I know lawsuits were filed, but was there any further follow-up relative to his continued employment? If so, what were they? If not, and if he is still acting in the role of chief of police, I'm extremely uncomfortable to learn that he will now be a part of the Unified Command Team, leading the Emergency Operations Center as a state as a state of local emergency. Also, can you please share with community members who are the members currently on the coronavirus task force? So this was read into the record.
Thank you, Mr.
Here's
Keenan.
another one from David Gurin. The confusion on tonight's agenda may be caused by the forwarded email from Friday, March 13th. See below, it is attached. Agenda. It doesn't give any details on the special order of business. So in the future, the city ought to send emails that have attachments that either have a link to the correct version of the attachment, or a better idea, to notify the public when the agenda is updated. But also it does not make sense for the council to meet while the polls are still open for the primary election, 7 p.m. Moreover, it really doesn't make sense having a council meeting at any time on an election day unless the purpose of that meeting is to discuss some emergency. And as this person says, but this meeting isn't discussing our current emergency, COVID-19. So what the heck are you all doing? Okay. This is one that did not have a name. Why is the, I presume mayor, there's a typo, it says major, but why is the mayor suggesting we keep gym memberships, sweat, heat bacteria spread, virus living on machines, shower, sauna, steam rooms? These locations are dangerous. Right now, we should not be encouraging people to go to gyms. And I believe that is the conclusion of comments that we have.
Okay, well, thank you, City Clerk, and thank you, everybody who sent in comments to the City Council. We are now going to move to items that are on the agenda tonight. The first one is a request for any public comment or public input on the draft 2019 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, the CAPR. Acting City Manager Storley, could you give some more color to this? Is there a statement that needs to be read?
Sarah Flax is on the line. She can speak to that one. I do not believe that there's any statement that needs to be read.
Sarah?
Mayor Hegarty, there's no statement that's required. This is the closing of the 15-day public comment period, which is required by HUD for our Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. Normally it is closed at the Housing and Community Development Act Committee meeting. We have had no comment in writing up till now, and there does not seem to be anybody here to make comment at this point. So we will simply note in the caper before it goes to HUD that there was no public comment made.
Thank you, Sarah. we'll deal with this later, but just so the public knows, because I know a lot of people are concerned about the impacts of COVID in these federal conference calls that I've been on, and I know you were on, and Alderman Fleming was on yesterday. HUD is looking to modify the CDBG program to try to give it some flexibility to address health needs and other needs in the community. So there'll be more on that later. We're now going to move to the special orders of business. I don't think there was any approval necessary on that. I think that was just an opportunity if the public wanted to come out. Clerk.
Mayor,
Yes.
I think there is approval required.
Sarah?
There is approval of the plan required, but not of the public input. So SP1 is approval of the plan for its submission to HUD.
That's a perfect segue, because I was going to ask Alderman Rainey if she would move SP1 and introduce that.
Okay. So, all right. So SP1 is approval of the 2019 Consolidated Annual Plan. And since people don't have anything in front of them, would you like, I think I should probably read amount.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to move approval of the 2019 Consolidated Annual Plan, which has to do with federal dollars received by the city of Evanston. $2,310,379 in HUD entitlement funds for FY 2019. Broken down, that $1,803,432 in community development block grant funds, $355,216 in home investment partnership funds. That's commonly known by people in the community as home funds. And the ESG funds, emergency solution grant funds, $151,731. I move approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, City Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming. Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin.
Aye.
Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. City Clerk. SP1, the approval of 2019 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report for the city's Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnerships, and Emergency Solution Grant Program passes the Evanston City Council on an 8-0 vote. Alderman Rainey, could you introduce and move SP2?
I'm wondering if Alderman Wilson would like to do this one. I think he's still chairman.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Alderman Wilson?
Sure. You hear me okay?
Yep.
SB2, approval of allocation of additional fiscal year 2020 community development block grant funding for the 2020 action plan. The staff is recommending City Council approval of the proposed increases of the community development block grant funding for the CDBG administration, family focus, graffiti removal, summer youth employment, certificate of rehab, target area code enforcement, as well as returning additional loan repayments to the revolving loan fund for the 2020 rehab projects, and allocating funding for the Alley Special Assessment Assistance Program. CDBG funding is from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The city's actual 2020 CDBG grant combined with the 2019 repayments to the revolving loan fund, 2019 program income, and unspent CDBG funds from prior years total $2,009,968, giving the committee $196,159 more CDBG dollars funding than the estimate used to make the allocations in December 2019 for the draft 2020 action plan. This is for action. I move approval.
I second.
All right.
Second.
Any discussion about SP2? Hearing no discussion, City Clerk, could you please take the roll in SP2?
Yes. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Alderman Fleming, we didn't hear your vote.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Alderman, I just want to make sure Alderman Braithwaite isn't here. Yes, actually. Alderman Braithwaite.
We can't hear you, Alderman Braithwaite.
Okay. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Rue Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin.
Aye.
And Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
And for Alderman Braithwaite, if you are here, if we're not able to hear you, if you can text your vote to, I guess, myself and the mayor, so we have it logged in.
All right, thank you, City Clerk. So based on the voice vote there, on the roll call voice vote, SP2 approval of the allocation of additional fiscal year 2020 community development block grant funding for the 2020 action plan passes the Evanston City Council on an 8-0 vote. Alderman Fleming, who is that?
Alderman Braithwaite.
Alderman Braithwaite. All right, Alderman Braithwaite, please let the record show, is in attendance and voted aye on that item. So that passes 9-0. Alderman Fleming, could you introduce and move SP3?
I move for introduction SP3, which is the approval of 2020 mental health board funding allocations. Human Services Committee, Mental Health Board, and staff recommend City Council approve the proposed allocation of $763,373 in fiscal year 2020 to 19 nonprofit agencies to provide needed social services to Evanston residents. Allocations range from $8,910 to $78,586 for 21 individual programs. Allocations will be dispersed from the Human Services Fund with separate object codes to identify the dispersed funds for action.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, lots of seconds. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, City Clerk, could you please take the roll for SP3?
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
No.
Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Rue Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin.
Aye.
And Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
I do want to make sure we get Alderman Braithwaite's vote as well.
Alderman Braithwaite? You need to unmute Alderman Braithwaite. *6. Okay. Not hearing Alderman Braithwaite's vote. This item will still pass the Evanston Council on a 7-1 vote, and that's the approval of the 2020 Mental Health Board funding allocations, and that is a 7-1 vote. Passes. Alderman Suffredin, could you introduce or move SP4?
I move SP4 approval of a contract with Spirit Financial, Inc. for financial advisor services. Staff recommends City Council authorize the city manager to execute a 4-year contract with Spirit Financial Incorporated for financial advisor.
Still can't hear me?
At the rate of $1.50 per 1,000 deposit. The cost of the financial advisor, along with other bond issuance costs, has traditionally been funded out of bond proceeds. Move for action.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Lots of seconds again. Any discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Alderman Rainey?
Yes. I think this is a wonderful idea. I support this choice, except I have one concern, and that is they also represent Skokie. And I'm wondering if our staff or legal department have any issues with them representing Skokie when Skokie owes us so much money on our water. I mean, they're going to be our financial advisors, and Skokie owes us money. So they also advise Skokie.
Okay,
Mayor, this is Hitesh Desai.
All right, so this is so Hitesh Desai, our city finance officer, is speaking now. Go, Hitesh.
Okay, so, Alderman Rainey, I hear your concerns, but, traditionally, I can go back 20 years and you've been there, I think, for a long time. We call it a financial advisor, but we just use them for our bond issuance. They don't.
Right, I know. But these, I know that. I know. And that's why I hesitated to bring it up, because I didn't want to sound petty, but when you think of how much money they owe us and how they pay us, and surely when they're consulting with Skokie, they must talk about other things other than just their bond issue. And so that's all. I'm just mentioning it, okay? I'm going to vote yes, but I'm just mentioning it.
No, I hear you, but yeah, I think their scope is very limited to just for the bond issuance. They don't have anything about the investment, cash, or any other financial advisor role.
Thank you, Alderman, and thank you, Hitesh. Any other comments on SP4? Hearing none, City Clerk, could you please take the roll on SP4?
Alderman Rainey?
Yes.
Alderman Fleming?
Yes.
Alderman Fisk?
Aye.
Braithwaite? Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin?
Aye.
And Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
And I want to give Alderman Braithwaite another opportunity. Oh, he's disconnected. Okay.
All right.
Kids are home from school. Take advantage of that.
So, all right. So SP4, approval of the contract with Spear Financial, Inc. for financial advisory services, passes the Evanston City Council on an 8-0 vote. We're now going to move to SP5. Alderman Rainey, could you move that motion?
SP5, yes. Just one second. SP5. Is that the motion? Is that the resolution authorizing the city manager
Yes.
to make?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 27R20. I move approval authorizing the city manager to pay bills, fund payroll, and pay credit card invoices for the period of March 16, 2020 through March 8, 2020. As we probably will not have another city council meeting convened until April 13, 2020 or later, and these payments and issues have to be taken care of during that time. I move approval.
Second.
Second.
All right. Lots of seconds again. Is there any discussion on this item?
None.
Hearing none. City Clerk, could you please take the roll on SP5?
Alderman Rainey. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Is Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin.
Aye.
And Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. SB5 Resolution 27-R-20, authorizing the city manager to pay bills, fund payroll, and pay credit card invoices for the period of March 16th, 2020 through May 8th, 2020, has been approved by the city council on an 8-0 vote. Alderman Fisk, could you introduce SP6?
Yes. That's Resolution 28R20, delaying the due date of certain payments to the City of Evanston and delaying certain enforcement measures by the City of Evanston by 60 days. Staff recommends City Council adoption of the resolution, delaying the date of certain payments and delaying certain enforcement measures by the city of Evanston by 60 days. It's for action.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? I would just add for people that are watching, this is a measure that the City Council is taking to try to temporarily at least relieve the financial burden on people in light of the COVID-19 emergency. Seeing no,
And
yes.
Mr. Mayor, could we make certain that in the city newsletter and on the city's homepage that we make note of this so that people will know?
Yes, the acting city manager is shaking her head and will make that widely known to the community.
Thank you.
All right, City Clerk, could you please take the roll on SP6?
Yes. Alderman Ravel. I'm sorry, Alderman Rainey.
Let's start with Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin.
Aye.
And Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
All right, thank you. SP6, Resolution 28-R-20, delaying the due date of certain payments to the City of Evanston and delaying certain enforcement measures by the City of Evanston by 60 days, has been approved by the Evanston City Council on an 8-0 vote. The city will publish and push that information out so residents understand what all of those items are. Alderman Wilson, could you please move SP7?
Sure. SP7, Ordinance 48020, amending City Code Title 3, Chapter 4, Section 2 to add emergency powers of the Liquor Commissioner. Staff is recommending City Council adoption of Ordinance 48020, which amends the City Liquor Code to permit the Liquor Commissioner to suspend or provide lesser restrictions to the license requirements for the city liquor license holders. The mayor has requested suspension of the rules for introduction and action. So I move introduction and action and suspension of the rules.
Second.
Erica, you still can't hear me?
We can hear you now, Peter. Oh,
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Is there any discussion of SP7? It's been moved and seconded.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman. This is Alderman Rainey.
Yes, once we pass this, if things come to us from various establishments regarding a need to tweak their license, will you be in a position to help out in those cases under this change?
Yes, under the emergency.
Does it have to be specifically in this ordinance?
No, my understanding is that because of the emergency a declaration of the state, local state of emergency, I could make other modifications to this. That's my understanding from legal counsel.
And the modification would be like from now to when the emergency is over, correct?
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Alderman Fleming, do you have a comment?
I do. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding of, what would be some of the lesser restrictions that this would grant you to commit.
So this grant right now under the liquor code, you cannot. If you go and do a grab and go, which is what a lot of the restaurants are doing here in town, they're restricted from selling you, if you wanted to buy a beer, to walk out with a beer. Under this ordinance, we would allow them to do that, given that we are allowing grab and go at these restaurants, but not allowing sit down services under Governor Pritzker's orders.
And so under his orders, places do not currently have the grab and go still cannot sell the grab and go. Although that's what might be understood from his
I'm sorry.
you hear me?
I had trouble hearing you, Alderman.
So I'm saying, so he is now, saying bars are closed, people can do a kind of a grab and go, but people who in Evanston do not have a grab and go or, like a Benny's or whatever kind of license, they still, under the governor's order, cannot do that, although that's what he's communicated. They still need to come to us to get a new license or
Yes.
restriction or, change their license.
Right. That's why we're passing this ordinance. So at a local level, we're allowing that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, City Clerk, could you please take the roll on SP 7?
Alderman Rainey.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Oh,
This is Kelly Gandersky. I believe, just for clarification, the motion was Alderman Wilson moved for intro and action to suspend the rules. Because this is an ordinance, we need a unanimous vote of City Council to suspend the rules of this ordinance.
oh.
First.
Okay, so Alderman Wilson, could you move a motion on that?
I move suspension of the rules.
Is there a second?
Already moved and there was a second.
There's a second. City Clerk, could you please take the roll on suspending the rules to allow this item for introduction and action tonight?
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite. Because we'll need unanimous on this.
If it's 8-0, we'll stop unanimous.
Alderman Braithwaite has been giving me yes votes, so he wanted them recorded into the record for everything tonight, but
Okay.
he has not been able to get his voice heard because of some kind of delay.
Okay, so Alderman Braithwaite is a yes on this?
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
Alderman Sefferden?
Aye.
And Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
All right, so thank you, Clerk. This item passes or is allowed by the council
now-
is allowed by the council for introduction and action on a 9-0 vote. Alderman Wilson.
Yes, so I move that we introduce and approve ordinance 48020.
Second.
Any conversation?
We did it.
Seeing none, City Clerk, could you please take the roll on SP 7?
Alderman Rainey?
Aye.
Alderman Fleming? Alderman Fleming?
Aye.
Alderman Fisk?
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite? So it will be recorded. Alderman
Yeah.
Alderman Braithwaite is a yes.
Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
Alderman Sefferden?
Aye.
And the great Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
All right, thank you, City Clerk. SP 7, Ordinance 48-0-20, amending City Code Title 3, Chapter 4, Section 2 to add emergency powers of the Liquor Commissioner have passed the Evanston City Council on a 9-0 vote. That concludes our main agenda for tonight. The last item we have is call of the wards. So Alderman Rainey.
Stay safe, 6 feet away, be healthy, take care.
Good advice. Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Fleming.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Corporation Council and then a referral for rules whenever we have rules again. And this wasn't on the agenda. My question has to do with our Emergency Preparedness Code, which is Chapter 9, Title 9, where it says that we will have an Office of Emergency Preparedness that will be appointed by the city manager and serve until removed by the city manager. So I'm just, since we've now declared a state of emergency, want to know who that person is, and I'm confused, I guess, as how we're currently, not confused, but have some questions about how we're currently operating, who's making decisions.
Okay, we'll get you that information, Alderman. And your second referral?
Well, I mean, that's part of my referral, but I'd like to see Corporation Council address that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Kelly, yes. This is Kelly
This is
Gandersky.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Hi, Kelly Gandersky. Yes, the city manager is authorized to appoint an emergency preparedness manager. I will let the city manager speak to that in more detail. There were meetings that happened this morning. There's been an emergency command center set up, as the mayor explained earlier, and there is a chain of command running. The mayor does have authority to, under the ordinance, to declare a state of disaster, which he has done. And as a result, he does have extraordinary powers pursuant to city ordinance to enact or create certain rules as needed. I hope that clarifies.
So have we designated an Office of Emergency Preparedness, and has the city manager appointed someone to be the manager of that?
Alderman, in the FEMA world and with the state Illinois emergency manager, Kimberly Cull is the city's emergency manager. She is on the documents and everything else for that. And for public health emergencies, Ike Ogbo, our public health director, is the lead on those. So we can, offline, I think it's a little hard here, but offline, we can ask a city attorney to provide you with additional information.
Okay, well, I would like that to be added. I've had questions, and I'm sitting on city council. There's other folks in the community have had questions. Obviously, we're not meeting, so there's not a lot of time to talk. So I would like that on the rules agenda whenever we have it, to kind of clarify that. If there has been a decision and a kind of a change in command structure, decision making, I think that's something that we should all be privy to and should be clear to our citizens during this time of lots of uncertainty. So, I appreciate your answer, Corporation Counsel, but it wasn't necessarily the answer I was looking to. If Erica has something to add to it, I think that would be great for clarity.
I think what you're asking is the city manager still the de facto CEO of the city, managing the day-to-day operations of the city? That's the question I think you're asking. Is that correct?
The scanner.
Yes, I think that's the question. It's kind of coming in and out, but yes, that's what you did.
Okay. Yes, I still am overseeing all of the operations of the city. As the Corporation Council did.
The ballot will be counted when the polls close.
As the Corporation Council mentioned, the declaration of a local emergency does give the mayor additional authorities under the code, and we'll put your referral on for Rules Committee when it comes on. But as we are operating right now, I am still operating the city as city manager does.
Okay, so yeah, I would love to have more information about that. That's not how I read the code. So if there's a sentence I'm missing in the code, then I think that should be pointed out. It should be clarified again we have the proclamation out there, but people might not understand how that changes how we're running the city.
Will do, Alderman. All right. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Fleming. Alderman Fisk.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank all of our city staff, all of everyone on that huge email list that is putting their heads together to try to deal with this incredible emergency. Thank you to everyone out there and for every Evanstonian for your patience and understanding of how complicated this is and how quickly we're trying to deal with it. But mostly to our staff, who have done an incredibly good job. I'm so proud of all of you. Thanks for your patience as well. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't think of anyone who's better qualified to be sitting in that seat right now than you. We're so incredibly lucky to have you as well. So thanks a lot.
Right.
I think we ought to give a round of applause. Yay! Yay!
All right. Well, we have a lot of work ahead of ourselves, but I agree with you. Everyone is stepping up in the entire community, and I too am appreciative of that. There's a sense of urgency and optimism that if we all do our part, we can keep this further at bay and take the strain off of our healthcare system. So, thank you, Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. do you have any public or call of the ward? If we have you.
Alderman Braithwaite just says to tell everyone to please be safe. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen.
I echo everything that Alderman Fisk has said, and I want to thank the staff for working from home and all of the staff who are still in the building, and to thank you, Mayor, as well, and everyone who stepped up to be part of the task force. I really appreciate the effort that everyone is making and all the small individual efforts that people are making throughout the community. I'm seeing them on social media, and I really appreciate that. So stay safe, everyone, and just keep washing your hands.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Wilson.
Thank you. And really just more of the same. I'm very proud to be from this community. Really proud to see the way people have really gotten together and collaborated. I want to point out that I appreciate everybody who is still out there doing jobs that need to be done, whether it's picking up the trash, city staff, or delivering the mail, or working at the grocery stores or the pharmacies, keeping our food and other things in the supply chains going. Tremendously grateful for all of that work, and we're going to get through this together as a community. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Echoing my colleagues, thank you to the staff. Thank you to the task force. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing your expertise during this time of need. And an additional special thank you to the residents, those that have formed groups. I understand that there is a Facebook group that has maybe over 3,000 members in it, sharing resources and thinking innovatively about how we might serve our residents most in need. Thank you. Feeling grateful to be here in the city with these residents and my colleagues on City Council at this time. So thank you all. We will honor the advice of the CDC, the governor, and the mayor. Our meetings will be canceled, and I will do a better job of keeping everyone updated on my social sites, as well as a newsletter which should be released tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Ruth Simmons. Alderman Sufferton?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify, the numbers will be updated on the city's website at 3 o'clock. Will there be information posted there on a rolling basis as needed as well?
Yes, all of the latest press releases and communications that the city has sent are on that page, and also we are updating the count on the webpage as well at 3 o'clock every day. So if you looked at it today, we're showing 0 for today. That was as of 3 o'clock. We did get one additional one after 3 o'clock, which will be reflected in tomorrow's numbers.
Okay, and people need to subscribe to that separately, or can we just dump everyone who subscribes to any city newsletter into that, into that subscription?
I can have that conversation with our communications manager. My understanding was that most of these messages have just been going out to every email address we have on file.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Be safe, everyone.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Ravel.
Well, I'll just wrap up Call of the Wards with another expression of appreciation to the staff who are just really stepping up so admirably to keep us all up to date and moving forward. And thanks to the mayor, and thank you also to the citizens who are truly also stepping up with support for one another and making this just a really terrific community. So thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Alderman. There's no executive session this evening, so Alderman Wilson, would you like to move for adjournment?
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second? All right, City Clerk, can you please?
Thank you, everyone.
All right, all in favor? Yeah. All right.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Be safe. Be smart. Be prepared. Be well. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.